Capricorn, before you go any further, stop what you're doing. If you're a Capricorn, or if someone close to you is, this is not a message you should casually listen to while scrolling. What I'm about to reveal has the power to shift the foundation of your month, your year, and possibly even your destiny. So pause, breathe, and tap the like button right now, because we're about to step into the kind of truth that only finds those who are ready for alignment. Hit subscribe and type, I receive in the comments, because comets of blessing don't shine for the passive. They shine for the prepared, and this November is prepared for you in a way you've never imagined. Now listen, Capricorn, there's a reason you're here today. There's a reason your soul couldn't scroll past this video. For months now, you've been quietly holding the world on your shoulders, maybe smiling in public, maybe breaking down in private, but always trying to be the strong one, the one who holds it together while everyone else gets to fall apart. And you wonder, does anyone notice what I'm carrying? Let me be clear, the universe noticed. God noticed. And November is the answer to every unspoken prayer you've whispered through tears. Think about how storms work. They look chaotic on the outside, unpredictable, almost violent, but they're actually a necessary part of the Earth's cleansing rhythm. They pull moisture from one place, transfer energy to another, and leave behind the kind of fertile ground where life grows again. That's exactly what you've been walking through. What looked like chaos was actually a divine rearranging, a realignment so powerful that it ripped out the things that couldn't stay where your soul was destined to go. You thought life was falling apart. It was actually falling into place. Remember Joseph in the Bible, the one sold by his own brothers, forgotten in prison, abandoned by people who should have protected him. His story didn't make sense until the moment it did. One sudden moment shifted his entire destiny. One conversation, one dream, one divine pull brought him from the dungeon straight into the palace. Capricorn, you've been in your dungeon season, but somebody in a position of power is about to need what only you can offer. And they won't just elevate you, they'll announce you. There's a spotlight with your name on it, and November is turning it on. Let me tell you a true story that matches this frequency. Oprah Winfrey was once told she wasn't fit for television. She was fired from her first reporting job. Can you imagine that? Oprah rejected. They said she was unfit. She didn't fit their box. But when the right time came, the world couldn't contain her. She didn't fit the box because she was born to create her own stage. Think about that for a second. Maybe you've been rejected not because you're wrong, but because you're rare. You were never meant for the small stage. Your November is God saying, the bigger room is finally ready for you. You ever notice how trees don't bear fruit in every season? Some seasons are for blooming, others are for holding energy underground. You, Capricorn, spent most of this year underground. You were storing emotional energy, building roots of character, enduring storms that would have snapped lesser people in half. While others were showing leaves, you were growing spirit. That kind of strength doesn't always look pretty. It doesn't always get applause. But it's the kind of strength that outlasts the seasons. Have you ever heard of Harlan Sanders? You probably know him as Colonel Sanders, the face on the KFC bucket, but before that, he was rejected over 1,000 times. 1,000 times people told him no before someone finally said yes to his fried chicken recipe. That's Capricorn energy. Denied, doubted, delayed, but never destroyed. Some people count rejection as the end, but for Capricorn, rejection is just part of the divine rhythm. Let's get real for a second. You've cried this year more than you're willing to admit. You've carried secret failures, buried silent fears, and listened to the hum of anxiety through sleepless nights. You've questioned your worth, asked God, why me? Wondered if you're still chosen. You felt forgotten, but here's the truth. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared. And November is the month when the preparation becomes visible proof. Pause, breathe. If you're still watching, it means you're ready. And I want you to type, I claim what's mine in the comments right now. Not as a ritual, not as an algorithm trick, but as a declaration. There is power in claiming. There is power in agreement. And the universe loves agreement. Do you know what else November is? It's the month when walls fall. In 1989, the Berlin Wall, once a symbol of division, oppression, and separation, collapsed. Not slowly, not politely, completely. People woke up in a world they thought would never change, and it was different. Capricorn, there's a wall in your life that's been standing for so many years you almost stopped believing it could fall, but it's not as strong as it looks. One shift, one alignment, one divine breath can bring it down, and November carries that breath. You have to understand something. Divine timing is never late. You think it's taking forever because your human mind works on clocks and calendars, but the spiritual realm works on alignment. You weren't waiting for time, you were waiting for readiness. And now, you're ready. Let's talk about Elisha in the Bible. He worked quietly behind the scenes, serving Elijah, watching, learning, enduring, waiting. And then suddenly, without warning, Elijah was taken up, and Elisha inherited a double portion of blessing, not because he fought for it, not because he begged for it, but because he was faithful during the hidden years. Your hidden years are not punishment, they're preparation for double. Right now, someone is talking about you in a room you're not in. Oh, someone is thinking of you in a way that's about to open a door you didn't even knock on. There's a file with your name on it being moved to the top of the pile, and the people who counted you out are about to watch you count up. But let me tell you something you might not want to hear. November won't bless the passive Capricorn. This is not the month to shrink. This is the month to engage, to align, to claim. That's why I'm asking you, don't just watch this, participate. Hit subscribe, turn on the notifications, type your affirmation in the comments. Not for me, for you. The act of claiming creates agreement, and agreement creates alignment. You move things when you speak them. Now let me drop something heavy. You've probably been thinking that you've lost something forever. A relationship, an opportunity, a version of you that got buried under disappointment. But November is returning something you thought was gone, not in the same form, not in the old, broken way. Better, stronger, whole. Something or someone you released out of pain is circling back out of purpose. But before you get too comfortable, I need you to look back at one thing, the moment you stopped believing. That moment matters because what you did after that shaped everything. Some people crumble, but you held on, barely at times, but you held on. And now the reward is coming, not just for surviving, but for staying true. Here's the truth most people will never tell you. The moment of breakthrough is never announced. It arrives disguised as an ordinary day. It often follows your most exhausted night. It's quiet before it gets loud. And that's what makes November so powerful. It will catch you unexpectedly. But I'm about to tell you something that'll make you think I've been reading your mail. There was a specific week recently when you were ready to walk away from everything. The stress became too loud. The silence became too heavy. The prayers felt unheard. And then something small happened. A word, a call, a shift. Something that didn't fix it all but kept you going. That wasn't random. That was a signal, your spiritual confirmation that the blessing was set in motion. You thought the delay was denial. It was protection. You weren't late, you were kept. Kept from the wrong people, kept from the wrong room, kept from the wrong version of success. Not every closed door is a curse. Sometimes it's the very thing that keeps your soul safe. Someone is about to remember your name. A forgotten application, a silent seed, a favor you don't even know you're owed, the kind of blessing you didn't chase, but is now racing toward you. Something is shifting, and you can feel it. You don't know what it is, but you feel the rumble. You feel the air changing. You feel the pull in your spirit. And just when it seems like nothing could break through, something you lost is about to return. But it's not coming back the way you think. It's not a repeat. It's a reward. Before you do anything else, take a deep breath and stay exactly where you are. Capricorn, don't scroll, don't blink, and don't let this moment pass you by. Because what you're about to hear couldn't have arrived at a better time. If you're still standing after everything life has thrown at you, then you're not just surviving, you're chosen. And because you're chosen, this message was guided to you. So before we dive deeper, engage with this channel. Click that like button like you're unlocking a door. Drop a victory in the comments if you're ready to claim what's yours. Make sure you're subscribed because this isn't just content, this is confirmation. The burden you've been carrying hasn't been light. You're not the type to complain, and most people wouldn't believe the weight you've had to lift all year with a silent mouth and a tired smile. But I'll tell you what few people know, the strongest souls are not the loudest. They're the ones who show up even when their spirit is running on fumes. And Capricorn, that's who you've been this whole time, showing up, holding space, carrying promises you couldn't prove, but you could still feel. Let's explore something deep for a moment. Have you ever wondered why you're always the one people lean on, why they call you when they're breaking down, when they need clarity, when chaos starts circling their life? But when your own storms come, silence surrounds you. You're not built like others. You're built like a warrior who doesn't get the luxury of sitting things out. That's why your blessing has to be different. Your reward has to be greater. Your breakthrough has to be undeniable. Do you remember Tyler Perry? Before thousands packed theaters and streamed his films, he slept in his car, not once, for months. He had a dream with no roof, no budget, no audience. But he had something else, faith. He took the pain, the eviction notices, the disappointment, and turned them into characters that healed the world. That is you, Capricorn. Your struggle isn't random. Your story is a medicine that will heal people you haven't even met yet. But first, God has to make sure it heals you. Something powerful is happening in your life right now, even if it looks like nothing's changing on the outside. Sometimes the greatest shifts start invisibly, like the roots of a tree growing in silence before breaking the soil. Blessings, too, often grow in secret. You don't see them until suddenly, one day, you're standing in the reality you once prayed for. Let's go back in time. The Berlin Wall fell in November 1989. People lived for decades believing it was impossible. Then something shifted, and an entire world changed overnight. Walls fall when they're no longer serving the destiny of the people behind them. Capricorn, you've been standing behind a wall of delay, confusion, disappointment, or fear. But destiny is rearranging the story now. The wall is weakening. You can feel it trembling. It knows you've outgrown it. Let me tell you something most won't admit. Some blessings don't come when you're ready. They come when you're proven. And you, Capricorn, you've been proven. Through loneliness, through broken trust, through setbacks and unpaid debts. You've walked through waters that would have drowned others. You've fought through nights that would have made the strongest crumble. You thought you were late. You were just maturing. You ever wonder why God let Judas betray Jesus? Why the betrayal had to come from someone close? Because sometimes elevation requires exposure. You couldn't see the knife coming until it was in your back. And that's exactly what revealed who couldn't go where you're going. It hurt, but it helped. You're not meant to rise surrounded by people who would rather see you fail quietly than rise loudly. There's something you need to hear. Your hands were never empty. They've been holding wisdom, strength, resilience, intuition, discernment, emotional intelligence, spiritual fire, things that don't show up on paper but carry more value than diplomas and resumes. And now, the world is hungry for exactly what you've been carrying. Have you noticed how everything seems harder for you? You don't get shortcuts. Nothing is handed to you. Even your joy feels like a battle half the time. That's because you're not called to normal. You're called to impact. And the road to impact is never paved with ease. It's paved with endurance. Let's get personal. There was a day recently when your spirit almost broke. You didn't tell anyone, but you questioned everything. Your direction, your faith, your purpose. That moment mattered. Because something entered your spirit right after a whisper, a sign, a song, a memory. It didn't fix everything, but it revived you just enough to keep going. That wasn't random. That was heaven interrupting your breakdown with a reminder. You still have something left to do here. You think your life is moving slow, but spiritually, things are moving faster than you think. There is a name being spoken in a room you've never entered. There's a thought being planted in the mind of someone who has the power to change the trajectory of your life. Blessings have meetings before they arrive. Let's bring it closer to home. Ever heard of Sylvester Stallone? Everyone knows him as Rocky. But before Hollywood saw him, they shut doors in his face more than 1,500 times. And when someone finally agreed to make his movie, he refused to sell the script unless he was allowed to act in it. He valued his gift enough to protect it. That stubbornness birthed a legacy. Capricorn, you have that same spirit, that I know who I am spirit. The world may not have recognized your value yet, but your November is about to change that. Do you feel the anticipation in your spirit? That quiet inner nudge that says something's coming, even though you have no evidence? That's not delusion, that's alignment. That's your future pulling you forward. Don't ignore it. Speak life into it. Write it down, claim it. Then engage with this moment. Comment below if you're claiming this energy. Hit that like button not for me, but as a physical agreement that you're ready to receive, because blessings answer confidence, not confusion. I want you to think back to something now, something you lost this year. Maybe it was a relationship, a job, a version of yourself you loved. You didn't just lose it, it was removed on purpose, not to hurt you but to make space for the upgrade. Sometimes God doesn't deliver the blessing until you're emotionally available to receive it. And now you're available, you're willing, you're open, you're humble, you're ready. Every miracle in the Bible has one thing in common: the moment before it looked impossible. The Red Sea didn't part until Moses stepped into it. Jericho's walls didn't fall until God's people marched 7 days in silence. Lazarus didn't rise until all hope was gone. You're not past the miracle, you're standing at the edge of it. There's a test still in front of you, one more internal hurdle, one more spiritual shift, one more step of obedience or intuition, and then the promise comes, not slow, not small, swift, sweeping, satisfying, like a river that was held up for years and suddenly bursts free. And yet something feels unfinished. There's a tug in your soul, a name you haven't forgotten, a dream you buried, a desire you stopped speaking out loud. That thing, that unfinished thread, is not done with you, it's circling back, but in a completely different form. You think you know how your story ends, Capricorn. You don't. You're not at the final chapter. You're at the plot twist. Before you take another breath, lock in and stay right here. I need you to hear this with your spirit, not just your ears. Capricorn, if you're watching this right now, it's not a coincidence, it's confirmation. There's a divine appointment happening between your soul and your destiny, and once you sense it, you'll never go back to who you were before this moment. So before anything else, I want you to engage. Hit that like button to signal your agreement with what's unfolding. Subscribe and turn on the bell, because the messages ahead will be the guide you didn't know you needed. Drop "I am ready" in the comments, not as a ritual, but as an activation. Your words are not empty, they're keys. There's something powerful about November that you might not fully understand yet. It's not just another month. For you, Capricorn, it's a spiritual checkpoint, a doorway disguised as a date, a blessing masked as a moment. And I need you to be awake, alert, and aligned, because the energy that's about to flow into your life doesn't come twice. This is the kind of month that separates the ones who merely wish from the ones who actually witness. You have something stirring in you, a restlessness you can't explain. You've been dreaming differently, thinking differently. You've shed things and people and past versions of yourself that no longer match the frequency of where you're going. You're not just healing, you're evolving. What you don't realize is that this shift within you is a sign that heaven has already shifted things for you. Let me tell you about a real-life story that mirrors your energy right now. There was a man named Jack Canfield, co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Before that book became a global phenomenon, it was rejected 144 times, 144 doors that said no, 144 voices that believed it had no power, but he held the manuscript like a prophecy. And when the world finally caught up with what was already true inside him, it sold more than 500 million copies. You've been holding a dream like that, something people didn't understand, something that didn't make sense on paper. But November is when people will begin to see what your spirit has known all along. You've been collecting pieces of your purpose without even knowing it. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every lonely night, it wasn't breaking you, it was building you. Some nights you prayed with tears because talking hurt. Some days you held your peace even when you had the right words to end the argument. Some opportunities slipped away right when you thought they were yours. But that's because heaven wasn't just preparing a table, it was making sure the seats around it were righteous. You've probably wondered why people always come to you with their burdens, their secrets, their confusion, like you're a lighthouse in their storms. It's because you carry a spiritual authority you don't even recognize yet. When you speak, worlds shift. When you pray, doors move. When you stand, the ground beneath others steadies. You're not just a signpost, you're a bridge, a vessel of wisdom. But let's go deeper. There was a moment recently, only you know when you almost gave up on something important. You were tired, you were confused, you questioned your worth, your calling, your future. The day you nearly settled was the day the universe started shifting in your favor. Because surrender doesn't always look like weakness. Sometimes it's the signal that says, I'm ready. And when you became ready, truly ready, the heavens leaned in. Do you remember the story of Peter walking on water? Everyone talks about the miracle of stepping on the sea, but the real miracle wasn't the water. It was the moment Peter believed something impossible could carry him. Your November is not about miracles that look magical. It's about miracles that require belief before evidence. You'll walk into things you once feared. You'll step into roles that used to intimidate you. You'll say yes, to doors you once thought belonged to somebody else. And suddenly, what used to shake you will obey you. Think about Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, 10,000 days behind walls, but he didn't die in that cell. He was built in that cell, hidden, forged, aligned, and the world didn't just welcome him back, it bowed to his wisdom. Capricorn, you've had your own hidden years, your own emotional prisons, but they haven't lessened you, they've sharpened you, they've made you someone the world won't just see, they'll respect. November will expose what was always true, that you matter more than you know, that your presence has purpose, that your wounds carry wisdom, that your journey was not a detour, it was a direct route. But I need you to prepare. A blessing is coming that requires you to show up fully, not half-hearted, not doubtful, fully. It's going to knock on your door at a moment so ordinary you might miss it if you're distracted by worry. That's why I'm calling you to action. Engage with the channel, stay connected, speak life into the comments, not for me, but because what you speak creates reality. Your words are seeds, and November is the rain. Something you lost earlier this year is coming back, but not the same way. It might come through a new person, a new opportunity, a new environment, but spiritually, it's the same blessing you thought was gone. You buried it in sorrow. God resurrected it in timing. There's someone who counted you out, someone who doubted you, someone who didn't see you coming, and they're about to eat their words, not through your revenge, but through your results. Your name is entering conversations, Capricorn. Your gift is being reviewed. Your presence is being requested. And when the invitation comes, it won't be a question, it'll be a confirmation. You have no idea what waits for you on the other side of this week, this month, this season. Something is unfolding behind the scenes that your mind can't even script yet. You will look back at this season and say, "This is the moment my life began to turn." But before the turn comes the test. Before the glory comes the fire. Before the reward comes the surrender. And someone you've been waiting for is finally within reach. But you're not prepared for what form it'll take. You thought you knew how it would look. You thought you knew who it would be. You thought you knew what it would cost. But destiny has a way of rewriting even the strongest plans. The door is opening, but it's not the door you expected. The night was quiet, but something in your spirit was no longer still. You could feel it, like a whisper at the back of your heart, an unexplainable knowing. November wasn't just another page on the calendar, it was the unseen doorway you'd been preparing your whole life to walk through. The air felt thicker, time moved differently, even your thoughts had weight, because deep down you sensed it, something was coming for you, Capricorn, not destruction. Not loss, but blessings that were written before you were born. Have you ever noticed that before the breakthrough, life gets strangely silent, like the world is holding its breath, waiting to see if you'll break or rise? That's where you're standing right now. It reminds me of Job, the man who lost everything, sat in silence, and still proclaimed, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." He didn't know that God was preparing to bless him with double, triple, 10 times what he lost. He didn't see the abundance, but the silence was the final step before the overflow. And that's where you are too. The quiet is not empty, it's pregnant, full, waiting to burst. The seeds you planted years ago, ideas, relationships, investments, prayers, none of them were forgotten. You just didn't see the roots growing. But November is the month those roots break the surface. Remember Tyler Perry, broke lonely, sleeping in his car. Nobody was watching, nobody cared, or so it seemed. But what God birthed in obscurity, he revealed in power. Tyler didn't just get one breakthrough, he became a breakthrough. That's what's happening to you. You won't just receive blessings. You will become someone's answered prayer. There's something else happening too, something deeper. You think the miracles that are coming are because of what you did, but some of them are arriving because of what your ancestors believed. In ancient times, elders would speak blessings over future generations, blessings that would lie dormant until the right moment. That moment is now. Someone in your bloodline prayed for you, and heaven never forgot. And just like Joseph, who went from a pit to a palace, people who betrayed you will be the very reason you rise. The betrayal was part of the blueprint. Ask Oprah. The trauma she lived through was supposed to silence her. Instead, it made her voice echo. And Capricorn, you've been through enough pain to build 100 empires. But this time, your pain is not the foundation. It's the fuel. It's what's pushing you into the greatest plot twist of your life. Even your finances are not safe from this shift. Debts are collapsing. Money you forgot about is making its way back. You'll think it's coincidence, but it's not. Do you know that after the crash of 2008, more millionaires were created than in the 10 years before it? Crisis doesn't scare God, it's his canvas. Pay attention now more than ever. Your dreams are about to become highways of revelation. Messages will come through symbols, through numbers repeating, through encounters that seem random but are divinely timed. Stay sensitive, be still enough to hear. And something strange is about to happen. People who left you, people who doubted you, are going to circle back. Not because you've changed, but because God elevated you. Like Steve Jobs, rejected by the very company he built, only to return as the cornerstone. The shift has already begun. You can feel it, you can't explain it, but it's rising, quietly, powerfully, and soon the world won't be able to ignore what God is doing with you. The world you once knew is beginning to look unfamiliar, not because it has changed, but because you have. You're rising into a version of yourself that life tried to bury. Every chapter of suffering was an initiation, every delay was divine training, and every heartbreak was a holy pruning. Now watch closely, because what happens next will not be random. It has a rhythm, a sequence, a spiritual choreography designed just for you. Do you remember when Jesus turned water to wine? It wasn't just a miracle of transformation, it was timing. The wine didn't flow until the right moment. And just like that, your life will not turn until the appointed time. But once it does, the shift will be sudden, unexplainable. And people will say, "When did this happen?" They won't know you've been agging like fine wine in the dark. There's a word that's been echoing in your spirit lately: restore. You've said it silently. You've said it with tears. You've said it without words. Restoration is not coming. It has already been released. Your name is being spoken in rooms you've never entered. Your work is being recognized by people you've never met. Your faith is pulling down what your eyes can't yet see. Let me tell you about Nelson Mandela. 27 years locked away, forgotten, silenced, dismissed. But when he walked out of that prison, he walked out as a leader of a nation. Not broken, not bitter, but rebuilt. That's what's happening inside you. Your prison was emotional, psychological, maybe even financial, but you're stepping out not as a survivor, but as a ruler of your rebirth. And there's another layer to this story, something sacred. Someone is watching you from the unseen realm, an ancestor, a guide, a helper. They're cheering, they're signaling. They know that what you're stepping into will shake generations. That's why you've felt pressure, because destiny requires a bigger soil. Look at David. He wasn't crowned in the palace. He was found in a field. Your field is your preparation. Your palace is waiting. You might be thinking, but I'm still struggling. Yes, because the struggle is the swan song of your former life, the last gasp of what used to be. The enemy tries hardest when he knows time is running out. The noise in your mind, the random problems, the sudden losses, they're distractions like the storm before the resurrection. But now listen, around you are 5 hidden signs that your breakthrough is in motion. People will start confessing what they did behind your back. Unlikely supporters will show up with answers. Old opportunities will reappear with better terms. Your mind will feel lighter, and out of nowhere, peace will begin to replace panic. And people will start telling you that you look different, even when nothing has changed, because your spirit has shifted. The light in your eyes is back. The fire in your soul is unquenchable. The crown you laid down has been repolished. You're not done, you're beginning again, this time with wisdom and weight. But don't mistake the silence for absence. Don't misinterpret the slowness for denial. Some of the most powerful stories in history happened in obscurity. Look at Beyoncé. Before Lemonade, there was betrayal, confusion, and silence. Then came the masterpiece, the rebirth, the empire. You are in your hidden era, and when the reveal comes, it won't be for applause, it will be for impact. And people will ask you how you did it. You'll smile, knowing you didn't do it alone. Someone carried you. And now something is about to touch down in your life that will make every loss make sense. Every no will become a now. Everything you thought you missed will return in a form you never imagined. But there's still one truth I haven't told you. And it changes everything.